Good afternoon. I'm here with David Schroeder of DSS Coin and Bullion. We'll talk about some of the businesses that he has. So, David, can you go into some of the history and how you got started?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I started mowing lawns at about 7 years old with a borrowed lawnmower from my dad. By the time I was 10, I had a complete route. I had a new lawnmower. I'd go from route to, basically from place to place with pulling my bike. I would take the money that I would make and I'd either buy baseball cards or I'd buy coins from the bank, and then I'd go through the coins at the bank. Eventually I came across a pretty decent sized grouping of silver halves, and I would take all my money, invest in those, and I found a guy locally that would buy those halves from me at a certain level above the face value, and that's basically where I got into the coin business was then. And my collecting basically started in between baseball cards and the coins. So in 2000 I opened DSS Coin and Bullion, and then I've since then, in 2007 I opened a pawn shop in Gregory, South Dakota. 2009 I opened another pawn shop in Nebraska. I opened my second DSS in 2012, and then the end of 2014, November, opened a jewelry store in downtown Omaha.
Perfect. So how many employees do you have total, and can you get into talk about some of the benefits that you provide them?
Overall, through the companies, I believe right now there's 17. We've had some loss this last probably the last year of time frame. Benefits that we provide is we provide a profit sharing program where the company puts in $25,000 a year that gets split amongst all the employees. We also do a 6% IRA match. We have an IRA within the company, so we match up to 6% max. All my employees max their IRAs out, so they take full advantage of that. We also do a healthy vacation program. Most of my guys that are starting out get 1 year paid. I've got employees that get up to 3 weeks paid. We also have very lenient as far as a family schedule is concerned within the store. Our family aspect of the store is the most important part of it for us. We've got most of my employees start out with no children, no wives, no houses, no cars, and every one of my employees now have full families. They're married, they have vehicles and houses, and so it's been quite a process for us from coming from where we did.
Perfect. So can you talk about some of the charitable organizations that you supported, either in the past or what you think about in the future?
Open Door Mission's probably one of our favorites, only because when we did research on the charities that we could utilize, they were the only ones that actually kept the giving at home. Mm-hmm. We do some work with Salvation Army, only because they're customers of ours, so we try to be customers of theirs as well. But Open Door Mission is probably our favorite, only because there was for instance, the 13th Street Jewelry alone, we bought close to 600 TVs from a closeout when a hotel was going out of business. Now, we bought these with the full intent of selling them, and we did sell a lot of TVs, but at some point you have to say, okay, I've got a storage full of TVs that aren't going to go anywhere. What are we going to do with them? And we eventually ended up giving those to Open Door Mission, which they basically were able to provide families that don't have TVs, which is a basic comfort. It's definitely not necessary, but it's a comfort that you can provide, to a family. And that's one thing that we did that was kind of major that actually made the news. But most times our giving is financial, and it's mostly around Thanksgiving and Christmas, purely for food. Also, when we go on the road, we also we do a lot of traveling, so we pilfer our hotel rooms. We take all the soaps, the shampoos, anything that you can get for free, the Kleenexes, the toilet paper. I come home with all that stuff. It all goes into a container. We donated that at the end of the year. This last one that we did there was over 150 pounds of donatable toiletries. I mean, which most people don't know that, but it's a really important thing. Hygiene. A lot of these people, believe it or not, do not have that basic essential, and that's something that you have to have, is that hygiene.
Perfect. Great. So, are you a member of the Omaha Chamber of Commerce?
Omaha member, yep. Omaha Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. So let's talk about some business ethics. I know that there has to be, if you can get into some of the government regulations, maybe at the city level, at the state level, or at the maybe even federal level. Can you talk about that specifically to the pawn business?
Well, specifically talking to the pawn business, we've got a South Dakota pawn shop and the Nebraska pawn shop. They're two completely different animals. There is no regulations in the state of South Dakota whatsoever. We pretty much made up all the rules that we wanted to follow. I hate to say it that way, but we set the rules up that we felt were fair to us. We presented them, they accepted them. That's the way we've been running since '07. Nebraska's a lot different. We have regulations as far as what we can charge for interest. That's a state regulation. So our maximum interest rate is 15%, and that's 15% per month. There's also regulations as far as the guns are concerned. We have to handguns have to be registered in the city before they can leave us, leave our storefront, unless you have a permit to carry, a permit to purchase. You have to have that as well. That's a state requirement. On the federal level, we're required to fill out our ATF forms and do background checks. We're also required to prevent straw purchasing as far as firearms are concerned. Other state...
Can you talk about what straw purchasing means?
Straw purchases are basically, if somebody comes in to buy a weapon of any kind, if you know or can tell that it's for someone else, that it's an illegal purchase, and it's our job to stop those. And we get them often. And normally how we try to do it is we let it go as far as it can, and then we get the ATF involved. So not only are we policing it, but we help enforce it as well. I don't believe in stopping someone before they make the mistake. I let them complete the process of the mistake, so that they aren't able to do it again. Because if they've done it once, they've more than likely done it multiple times. Okay. And those are the weapons, normally, I'll be honest with you, the ATF will let some of those go through, and sometimes those are the weapons that we get called about to track down where they went, who they went to, because they were normally used in crimes. I hate to say it that way, but the ATF will let guns leave in a straw purchase situation to try to get a higher criminal, I guess, count against the person. Well, but there are other state rules as far as pawning is concerned. We have to hold pawns a minimum of 4 months. Okay. So if I loan you money today, I can't go upside down on you until it's 4 months past due. That means you have 4 months to make any initial or required payments of interest before it can go upside down. And if I purchase something, I have to hold it a minimum of 2 weeks so that the police have time to make sure that it's clean. And then we do a weekly submission to the city of what we've purchased and pawned every week.
Okay, cool.
That's the extent of most of the rules that we
follow. Can you give us, this is the last question, can you give me a situation or example in which you've been challenged both professionally and personally in an ethics situation?
Well, with the way the times are now, we get a lot of we have a lot of low-income people that come to us to get loans or to get money. There are certain instances that can stand out in my mind. I have people that come in and they ask for, or they're selling us something and they say, well, we need to buy medicine. And it's obvious that they're not using prescribed medicine. You know, they're doing something else. And ethically speaking, you know, we do hold ourselves at a high moral level within DSS because, or any of my stores, mind you, that we have a certain amount of knowledge, and that knowledge provides us with the ability to make money off of people that don't have knowledge. So with that becomes a huge amount of responsibility. Now, when you come to me and say, you know, I'm selling you this stuff because my dad just died, I don't care about it, I want to sell it, it doesn't mean anything to me, we buy it. We buy it to make money. We buy it to make a certain percentage. If you come to me and you say, you know, I'm selling this stuff because I'm really, really sick, I'm stage 4 cancer and I can't afford the medicines that I have, we're going to pay you if we believe you. And you can tell, because we've been in the business long enough, that our business is reading people. We can tell when somebody's telling us the truth and when they're not. At least we like to think we can. And sometimes we're wrong, but most times we're right. But in situations like that, we'll pay you more than we normally pay people because we really feel that you need the help. I've had people come into me before to sell us stuff to pay their MUD bills. And I really feel like they weren't going to pay their MUD bills. And I went with them to the MUD office and paid their MUD bill so that they were current on their MUD. And then they came back to me another time and they asked me, and I believed them, and I gave them the money and they did what they did. Sometimes people come back, sometimes they don't. Right. I remember particularly one lady came to the front glass. We have a bulletproof entry, and she was She was visibly beat up. She had been a customer before selling us stuff. And I mentioned to her, and after buying the product, I mentioned to her before I paid her, I said, you know, no one has to live through situations like that. And if you need help getting out of that situation, let us know. But please know that it's unacceptable if somebody is treating you in this way that would hurt you that way. And she assured me that she had fallen off her horse and got beat up. But you know when someone's been hurt. And she was obviously upset after that. And, you know, we never did see her again, but I really feel like maybe that little bit maybe helped her towards, you know, making a little bit better decision about what situation she was in.
Perfect.
And we see people all the time down there that really, really need help. I mean, I had a woman that's been a customer for years. Her husband has passed away, and she sells us stuff as she needs money, and she was out of stuff. She came in and sold us stuff, and she said, I'm trying to get $200 together. I've made money off this woman for years and years. And she only had $150 or $200 worth of stuff, and she needed $500. That woman didn't walk out of our store with $150. She walked out with $500. I mean, there's just a certain amount of moral responsibility that you have to people in general, and luckily we're able to extend that through the success that we've had. I mean, I didn't come from you know, wealthy upbringing. Everything I have, I've worked for, and to be able to give just a little bit, you know, there's a certain amount of satisfaction that goes into it. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's a selfless, you know, thing, but I mean, there is a little bit of, you know, it's nice to be able to help somebody that truly needs help, and you can control that help. I cannot stand giving money to places or things, i.e. the government, that just gives money away and lets them do as they please. I can't stand that. I think we should have more control over where our money goes. But
perfect.
Anyways, that's
all right.
Out of the realm.
Well, that's the last of my questions. I appreciate your time, Mr. Schroeder, and we'll talk again.
Thank you. I missed my calling. I should have been a TV person.
Hang on.